In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this super cute purse. Now, I made this with a really long strap because I wanted to wear it more as like a crossbody purse, and I just wanted it just big enough to, hold my cell phone and a small wallet or some cash and my keys. So it's not really large. But this next one that I'm going to make with you all, I am going to make it a little shorter and wider. But really, as I'm going to show you, you can make this any size that you want if you follow the pattern. I did add a button so that it could close at the top, and then obviously it opens up. So if you want to add a button, I would say you're going to need a button. You're going to need, I used this yarn, which is the Bernat Plush Big. This is a Jumbo 7 size yarn. So and it's pretty sturdy, it creates a pretty sturdy feel, which I really like. So that's what we're going to use today. I'm going to use these two colors. I've got this kind of denim blue and the white. I really liked how they meshed together in this one. So I'm going to make another similar one using that. And then I'm going to use, these are 11 needles. I'm actually going to use my circular needles, but they're the same. They're the same size. And then you're also going to need scissors and a yarn needle, but we won't need that till later. So to get started, I'm going to kind of follow this same look where I'm going to have the blue on the bottom and the white on the top. I think that I was going to put the white on the bottom, but I think it'll get dirty too easily. So I'm going to keep the bottom as the denim blue and the top as the white. So let's go ahead and grab our yarn. And so to begin, you want to have an even number of stitches. So it doesn't really matter, like I said, if you want to have a wider purse or a thinner, a more narrow purse, you can cast on the amount of stitches of how big you want it to be. So I'm gonna go a little wider today. And I am going to do a long tail cast on. So if I want to have about this, let's see, give or take that wide, I'm going to have a tail that's going to be at least 3 times that to do my long tail cast on. And so I'm going to take my needles to cast on. I'm going to make my triangle. I'm going to hold on to that triangle. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to put my needle in the same direction as my fingers, and then I'm going to twist. And this will be my first stitch. Excuse me. And then I'm going to go under my thumb, over my pointer finger, through my thumb, and pull. That's 2. Under my thumb, over my pointer finger, through my thumb, and pull. Under my thumb, over my pointer finger, through my thumb, and pull. Under, over, through, and pull. Under, over, through, and pull. All right, so I cast it on 22 stitches. Again, it doesn't matter so much as how many you cast on, as long as it's an even number, and you're doing the width of how long you want your purse to be. So this one obviously is much longer or wider than this purse, and so I'm just trying something different, but the pattern is ultimately going to be the same, depending on, it's going to be the same, just wider or narrower. Okay. So once you have your stitches on, we're going to flip our work over, and now we're just going to have a simple repeating row. And so we're always going to start with a regular knit stitch where we come behind the needle. Come in behind the needle. We're going to wrap that yarn from back to front. We're going to bring it that needle in front and then pop it off the top. If you need a refresher on the regular knit stitch, how to knit, I'll link that video here so that you can check that out step by step. But so we always start with a knit one, and then we're gonna do a purl slip. So we're gonna bring that yarn to the front as if we're gonna do a purl stitch, but we're gonna go in over the top like a purl, but we're not going to wrap any yarn around. We're just going to pop it off. Okay, so nice and easy, don't have to do anything else. But now we need to bring our yarn to the back so that we can do another knit stitch. So we're going in the back, wrapping from back to front. We're gonna pull that needle to the front and we're going to pop it off. Now we do our purl slip. So yarn to the front, in through the top. I was about to wrap it. Did you see that? We are not wrapping that purl. We are just slipping it off. And then we're bringing our yarn to the back. And then we're just gonna simply repeat that over and over and over. So regular knit, pop it off, yarn to the front, in through the top, and pop it off. Yarn to the back, regular knit, sometimes I split this yarn, there we go. Pop it off, yarn to the front, in through the top, slide it off, pop it off. Yarn to the back, regular knit, pop it off, yarn to the front, pop it off, just slip it off, yarn to the back, regular knit. All right, so I think you get the picture. And then we're just repeating that all the way down. We're just doing knit one, purl slip, knit one, purl slip, all the way down. And so we're gonna repeat that. You always want to end on the purl slip. So I'm almost done with this row. I'll show you what I mean. And that's how you know your project's on track. All right, so regular knit, pop it off, oops, I almost did it again. Your fingers, your hands have that memory, cellular memory, where it wants to just do what it knows to do. All right, and so my last stitch is going to be the purl slip, and then I'm going to bring that yarn to the back and flip my work over. And so now when I start the next row, it's almost going to feel as if I'm off a stitch because we just slipped that last stitch, and that's okay. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. So now we're just going to repeat what we just did. So we're just going to continue with knit one, purl slip, knit one, purl slip, knit one, purl slip, all the way down. And then you're going to continue to do it as tall as you want your purse to be. So if you want it to be, you know, taller and narrower, you just make as many rows as you want it tall, or short. You get to decide. So I'm gonna knit away here, and I'll be back once I have the height that I want on this purse. All right, I'll see you back here in a little bit. Okay, so I'm back, and I've made the purse the height that I want in this color, in this denim blue color. And now I'm ready to switch colors to the white. So I'm gonna make a white edge like I did on this one. So how you change your colors then is you, just like you are going to continue on and do, you know, another knit stitch right here, and you are putting your needle behind there, you're gonna hold on to the original color back here, and then you're just gonna take your new color and you're gonna make a little loop, and you're gonna just loop it onto that back stitch or that back needle. And you can just, the first stitch is a little awkward because you want to still create some tension as you pull this through. So I'm creating just a little bit of tension here so that then I can pull that new color through just like I was doing, as if I'm doing a regular knit stitch. And then I'm going to pop that off the top. Now, I'm gonna then kind of let go of this tail, let that fall in the front of the purse, and then I'm just gonna hang on now to the color, the new yarn. So if I'm following the pattern of knit one, purl slip, knit one, purl slip, my next is gonna be a purl slip. So I'm just gonna bring that white to the front, and now I'm gonna slip. I'm still hanging on to this blue back here, but I'm just going to then slip that and now wrap it back, bring the yarn to the back. I'm gonna do my knit one, and now yarn to the front, slip, yarn to the back, regular knit. And you can start to see that now the white is being weaved in. I've let go, I didn't cut it yet, but I've let go of the blue, and now I'm only working with the white. And so, where am I? Okay, so this next one, we're gonna bring to the front, purl slip, bring to the back, knit one. And I'm gonna do this obviously all the way down, turn my work over and do it again, and then it'll have completely changed over to the white. So we're doing a purl. And so now you can see the white is starting to completely replace the blue. We're halfway. At this point, it's safe to cut the blue and leave yourself a little tail because you're going to weave it inside of the purse. You're going to tie it, we'll tie it and then weave it inside. So give yourself a little bit of a tail. And then now I'm just bringing my white yarn to the front here. All right, so then I'm just going to continue on with my knit one, purl slip, knit one, purl slip all the way down. Okay, so now you can see all the stitches are now white. And so I'm gonna then continue on for a few more inches, I think. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it to see how tall I want the purse to be. And so I'm just gonna keep going. I'll meet you back here in a little bit. All right, so I went ahead and I added as much white as I wanted on the top. And so I really am liking this size of the purse. You can tell from this one, it's a bit more narrow. I mean, this one's a lot more narrow than this one. So I went a little wider, but they're about the same height. So now I am ready to cast off. So how you cast off is, what we're gonna do is we're going to, if you look at your work, your very first stitch should not have like a knot in front of it. So you should have like a longer stitch and then a knot, longer one, knot, longer one, knot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab all of those longer stitches and weave through there. So what you need to do is measure your yarn. I would say like at least double the width of the opening or the top of your purse. So I'm just gonna go a little extra because I'm gonna weave that through. And so I'm gonna cut. And then I'm also going to tie it at this end. So you do want a little bit extra so that you can have a tail. And then we'll do the straps separately. Now this yarn frays a little bit, so it's a little hard to get into my needle, my threading needle, but we'll make do. Okay, so next you're going to get your needle out and get your yarn to go through. Now with this thicker yarn, sometimes it can be a challenge to get it through the little opening, but it's coming. All right, there we go. Okay, so once you have your yarn on, we're going to, like I said, we're going to find the longer stitch, which should be your first stitch. And then we're just going to scoop up each of those long stitches. And pull it through. Hold on. It's a little... Let me do that again. All right, there we go. So got my... And now you don't want to pull too tight, just... So don't cinch it just yet. So you keep scooping up the long stitch. And pulling it through. With this thicker yarn, you got to make sure you don't split the yarn. So make sure your needle is actually going fully behind it and scooping it up. Otherwise, you'll snag the yarn. So it's basically just every other. Once you get started, it's every other stitch. And then once you reach the end, you're simply just going to turn your work over, and then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So technically your first stitch again should be that longer stitch, and your second one should have that knot. So we're just going to scoop it up. Okay, and so once you've weaved through all the way to the other side, You don't want to pull it, you don't want to cinch it just yet, but you should have the entire, both sides completely connected with that yarn. What you're going to do next, which is my absolute favorite part, is you're going to just simply pull your needle out. So I'm going to actually pull back because, and so once you pull your needles out, you can see immediately the project will kind of separate, and you'll be amazed by this immediate purse you've just made. I mean, and it's just so cool that it made a full kind of functional purse already. Now, there's a couple different things you can do. If you like a more, you know, tapered look at the top, you can cinch it, and just by pulling, it's like a drawstring, and you can tighten up the top if you want more of that kind of that tapered look, just by pulling. Or if you want it just to be a straight edge up at the top, that's kind of the look I want, is I just want it to be straight up at the top. So just kind of get the appropriate length, or width I should say, that you want. Because if it's too loose, you'll see it starts to kind of curl open, and so I don't like it when it curls too far open. I want to be able to open up the top to put things into it, but I don't necessarily want it to stretch beyond just the width that we have here. So once you have it at the width you want, here's where we're then we can remove our needle. Well, actually, before you remove the needle, we're actually going to knot this to itself. And so you're just going to weave it back into the purse. So weave it back in. And then you can, again, don't pull it too tight, but give it a little tug just to make sure it's snug. This little snag is bothering me. I need to trim it. Okay. So once you have it, now you can just kind of knot it into itself. So find where it came from again. Now I will say, I'm gonna try and knot it in this kind of this seam, because I don't want it to like be inside the purse where it might be more visible. So again, I'm just trying to find another knot here where I can just kind of create a loop here, and then I'm just gonna knot it right into itself and pull. And make that nice and snug. I am just gonna double knot it though, because I'm kind of a double knot kind of person. All right, so I'm just going to take one more knot here. And just knot it into itself. So I'm creating that loop, and then I'm just going to pull it right through itself. And pulling it quite tight so that I can then cut it. All right, once you have it nice and secure, you can trim that. There we go. I feel like this snag I'm gonna trim too. All right, so now we've got the top all set. We want to weave these ends in though too. This is where we changed color. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm actually gonna weave the white kind of up a little bit so that it covers this blue. I don't wanna weave it in down because then I'm gonna create that contrast with the blue and the white. So I'm gonna grab my needle. So now I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna pull that off, and now I can tie these two in a knot. I wanna make sure your knot doesn't disrupt or create a cinch on the outside. So just double checking that as I'm knotting, and of course a double knot. Now I can pull nice and tight. And now I can trim those ends. And tuck that back in, and there we go. So I really love how this turned out. Oh, okay, so here's our tail at the bottom. One more, one more we gotta put on this needle. Let me trim this end since it's so frayed. All right, so we got one more here to weave in. And there we go, and then pull the needle out. So now we've completed the main part of the purse, which again, I think it turned out really great. I'm loving it, love the size. And so next is to create a handle. Now here you have options. You really get to decide, you know, how long of a strap you want to put on. Now, I really like how this one turned out on the other purse. I mean, it's quite long because I wanted it to be more of like a crossbody purse. And I feel like I want the same look and feel with this one as well. So I'm gonna kind of do the same thing as I did for the other one. And so I'm going to measure out 5 times the length of the strap that I want. So I'm going to measure that out from this yarn, and that will be the length of the purse. So if you want a shorter handle, something smaller, same thing. You just want to measure out 5 times whatever the length is that you're going for, okay? So I will do that. Okay, so once you've measured out the length of the strap that you want, what you're going to do is you're going to take one end, and we want to create kind of a base here on each of these ends. So I'm going to, you know, if this kind of braided look is right on the seam, this braided edge here is the seam on the end, I want to pull my yarn through like on both sides of that braid. So I'm just gonna kind of create a loop or a base from there. So I'm gonna just pull it through on one side of the braid, that braid, and then I'm gonna pull it through to the other side. And now here, so you can see this is going to be kind of where the strap kind of is anchored. Actually, you know what, I'm gonna put it, oh, that's right, okay. And then now I'm just going to create kind of a knot, but I'm not gonna really pull it too tight through, because what I wanna do is I wanna create a loop here. And then from this loop, I can crochet, if you will, finger crochet, just kind of finger braid the strap. So I want it to be there, but not too tight or too loose. So here it is. And then I'm going to knot that, but I want that loop to still breathe, if you will. And honestly, you don't even need to tighten it just yet, because we want to make sure that we get, we want to make sure that we have enough space in it to braid it through. All right. And you know, since it's kind of separated from this edge, I'm actually going to bring my first loop through the edge here, just so it's nicely anchored. You don't want it to be like too wobbly, you know, the strap. So here's our goal. This is ultimately our goal, is we want a loop, because then we're just going to put a loop inside of a loop. And now we created another loop. And now we're just going to, from the back, just shove the yarn through to make another loop. And then same thing, shove the yarn from the back to create another loop. And you don't want these loops to be too big, because ultimately this is going to be the strap. And if you have too many holes in it, well, I guess if you want that look, right? If you want it to have more of a chained look, then you could make, I guess, bigger loops. But since this yarn that I'm using has a little stretch to it, I don't want these to be too big, because then it's going to stretch too much when it's on your body. Especially if you put some things inside the purse and it's heavy, it's gonna like stretch and weigh it down. So I want there to be some level of sturdiness to it. So again, I am just putting a loop inside of a loop inside of a loop, and just kind of attempting to make sure that they're roughly the same size. And then, so I'm going to do this all the way until I have the length of the strap that I want. But what I did then in this purse strap is then I actually came back through and kind of, reinforced the strap again. And I'll walk you through that as well. But I just wanted you to see that you could make a thinner strap like this, just a single chain braid. Or if you want a little bit more reinforcement, I'll show you how to add that extra yarn through the strap to give it that some more stability and sturdiness. And that's why I had you measure out 5 times so that you have enough yarn to be able to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to continue chaining, making this chain all the way until I have the length of the strap that I want, and then I'll meet you back here and I'll show you how to reinforce the strap. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, so I've created my strap as long as I want it to be, and now I'm ready to anchor it to the other side. And so you're still gonna have all this extra yarn if you've measured out 5 times. And so here's where it gets a little, I don't know, cumbersome. I don't know if that's the right word, because you're going to have to kind of anchor it through and pull all that yarn through. So here I have my last loop that I just made. And so I'm going to find its spot that I want, where I want to anchor it. And so just like the other side, you find that seam on the edge and you're lining it up so that it's centered on that seam. And then we're simply going to, I'm going to put my yarn all the way through. So I'm not creating a loop this time, I'm putting it all the way through. And then I'm going to anchor it to both sides here. So now, but see, now I gotta pull all this through. This is all that extra yarn that I'm going to need to reinforce the strap. So I'm pulling that all the way through. And then I'm going to go around that edge or that seam and pull it back through the other side. And again, pull it all the way through. And so now that's reinforced on that edge, but see, it's still kind of wobbly here. So I'm just going to do that again, just up higher, one stitch higher. Pull my yarn all the way through. And then I'm going to go around to the other side. Pull my yarn all the way through. All right, so now that I have that reinforced here on this edge, now I can go through and I'm going to, basically what I'm gonna do to reinforce it is I'm gonna come through each kind of braid. So I'm going to go through this hole, then the next hole, then the next hole, then the next hole, all the way up. So it's kind of like a double braid. And so you find your first hole, and now I'm actually going to come around here. I just like it to be nice and secure on the straps. So I'm just coming through here. And now I'm gonna take that first hole, and now I'm gonna pull. So here's where we're just doing a lot of pulling. We're pulling it through. So here I came in through the front, okay? So I'm not gonna pull too tight, but here's where I came in through the front. And now I'm gonna come in through the back. So that next hole, okay, so I came in there, and this next hole, I'm gonna actually come in through the back and pull. And so now I like it when it's not too tight, but it kind of has that this bubbly look to it. So I'm pulling it through, but I'm not necessarily like pulling it too tight, okay? So now I find the next hole, and now I'm gonna push it through. And then it kind of creates that it's gonna kind of just look like a snake, or like S's that go all the way through. And so now, since I came out the back, I'm gonna come in from the back. So I find my next hole, and then I'm just pushing it through again. And then I'm just gonna create a little extra. And so since I came in, now I'm in the front. So from the front, I'm gonna find that next hole and come in through here. And I'm gonna do this all the way through the whole strap. Now the good news is as you move up your strap, obviously your yarn is gonna get shorter and shorter, so you don't have to pull so much. So that part gets easier. But see how it's just kind of creating that S shape, or that snake look. So I'm came in through the back. So I'm gonna go from the back to the front and just pull. And so I'm gonna do this all the way through to the other side until I have this bubbled look all the way to the other side. Okay, so I will meet you back here shortly. Okay, so I completed my strap by reinforcing it with that S, kind of that S squiggle shape. So I went ahead and did that. And then I also went and I just kind of reinforced the end just like we did when we started. So now I have these two ends, and so I'm just gonna cut and tie a double knot into those. And now I'm going to trim it. All right, so now as it's tucked in there, you can't even see it. So this, technically, you could be done at this point. If you like the purse as it is, I think it's super cute, it's functional, I love it, it's great. If you wanted to add just a little bit more pizzazz to it, you can add a button. Now, this one I had a much larger button, and I like that look, but honestly, I don't have another button that same size, so I'm gonna use this smaller button, which I think still works. It still works. So again, you can add a button if you so choose, and all I'm gonna do for that, how I make it functional is I actually sew it to the back of the purse, and then to use it, to use the button is just there. You're finding one of these little holes, you're spreading the stitches apart, and then it'll lay flat in the front like that. But it's technically sewed onto the back. So I'm just going to find the center to make sure I have the center, and then I'm just going to sew it onto this stitch back here. So I do have just white thread on just a regular needle, and so I'm just going to sew that onto the back. Okay, and now once you have your button securely sewed onto the back, then you can just find spread open a stitch on the front, and then just secure the button. There, cute. I love how it turned out. So there you go. You can really decide what you love best as far as size, as far as the strap goes, if you want a button or no button, and really make this project your own. I hope you enjoyed knitting this purse together, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.